Welcome to r/RedditRevenge. This is a story of someone getting back at someone with revenge after being wronged. Thank you friends for subscribing to the channel and for so many likes. The first story. Customer calls in demanding access to internet early and makes threats about hacking network and causing havoc. The second story. Boss locked all workers in the building and the police intervened. The third story. Sailor gets messed with by superiors, sets up command for internal investigation. Today's first story is, so you're gonna hack us? Fine. Enjoy your visit from Homeland Security. This one is relatively short and not mine. It belongs to my ex-wife, who I would imagine has a litany of these kinds of stories. This one stuck in my memory because the customer seemed to live in his own universe, where he thought he could say things without any consequence whatsoever. For a while, we both worked in a call center. As my ex was better suited to this kind of work, she got promoted to supervisor on one of the escalation teams for our center. Our call center works specifically for a large ISP in the States, doing tech support for high-speed internet. One of the sad jobs that my ex got to handle was taking escalation calls from angry customers. Some of these calls were legitimate complaints. Techs had missed a dispatch, or a trouble ticket had been closed without resolution, or an agent had been particularly rude. Those ones she was always happy to deal with. But some of these calls were not legitimate. They would range from customers that would refuse to troubleshoot, to customers that felt we were spamming their email or any other myriad complaints that came in. If you can think of it in computer terms, she dealt with it. This one particular customer was calling in because his activation date was a few days away, and he did not want to wait. The agent he spoke with initially explained that they were still provisioning his service, and it would be active on the date he was provided. He wouldn't accept that, and demanded that he speak to his supervisor, and my ex got him. "Hello, Mr. Smith. Are you the supervisor?" "Yes, sir. I understand that. You need to push the GD button." Sorry, sir. What button are you talking about?" "The button that turns on my internet." Now, when our customers were being provisioned, there were two types. There were customers that were already wired up and ready to go, and they just needed an activation command sent down to the central office, telling their card to start transmitting data. The second type of customer wasn't wired up to a card, and would need to wait until we could get the card installed on their line, and then get everything in place before that command could be sent. This customer was in the second group, so there was little we could do. He wasn't having it. "I'm sorry, sir. I don't have a button to turn your service on." "That's BS. All you have to do is press a button and you know it." "Sir, don't you think if I could press a button and turn on your service, I would do so?" "Oh, stop effing lying to me. You either turn it on or I'm gonna turn it on." My ex's eyebrows about popped off her head when he said that. We had a number of security protocols in place in case someone decided to come to the center with a gun or a bomb. We would get some really angry people sometimes. This was not the case, however. This customer decided to take things in what he thought was a new and clever direction. "Can you tell me what you mean by that, sir?" "Either you press the GD button and turn on my internet, or I'm gonna hack into your network and do it myself." Before I go any further, all our calls were logged for quality, and this was occurring just a couple of years after 9/11. Everybody was a little jumpy. "Sir, please, I know you're joking, but I do have to take threats to the network very seriously. So please don't talk like that." "I'm not joking. Either you turn on my internet right effing now, or I'm gonna hack in and do it myself and tear your SH network to pieces while I do it." "I'm sorry, sir, but I'm ending this call due to the nature of the threats you've made." "Don't you—" Click. My ex was pretty frazzled by this, but knew immediately that she needed to contact network security. The customer made a threat against the network that we had recorded, and procedures required that call be made. She reached out and got one of the security team reps, and they had a quick discussion. My ex explained the customer's problem, and then detailed the threat the customer had made. The security rep listened to her and chuckled. They both suspected this customer was far from lead, but their hands were tied. The security rep had her forward the call recording to him, and then he reached out to authorities with the customer threat. As we were a national network provider, and the customer had threatened to tear the network to pieces, he had to reach out to Homeland Security. Homeland Security agreed with their assessment. The customer was an a-hole making empty threats. We were most likely not going to get hacked. Still, like us, they had procedures to follow as well. I don't know specifically what happened, but I do know that Homeland Security decided to visit this customer immediately and speak with him to determine if the threat was valid. The next morning, the security guy called my wife back and gave her the update. There was no threat to the network at all, ever. Not from this guy. He didn't know specifically what happened either, but the way Homeland Security described it, the threat the customer had made put him into no-knock, flashbang, nobody-move territory. But just to be certain, they were going to cancel his internet service and deny any future orders. Can't have a master hacker with easy access to the system, right? The next story is, boss didn't let anybody leave after finished work. Enjoy being swatted. This story happened like 15 years ago. I witnessed the entire scene and laugh at the outcome for days. A little backstory. I live in Colombia, South America. I used to work for a USA bank, the one with an umbrella. Not the best place to work, but it has some great benefits, like mortgage loans with especially good low interest rate for the employees. Here in my country, by law, the companies must pay the employees an extra salary, yearly payable half in June and half in December. It's called prima legal, and the bank goes an extra mile and pays their employees an extra 1.5 salary to be payable as well in June and December. The bank also pays for a premium health insurance, on top of the basic but good health insurance required by law, among other things. These benefits were won by the union reps who negotiated with the bank, the terms every 2 years. Here in my country, union reps are a pain in the A for the companies, and a bad union association could and had made a company go under and close operations, so joining the union is heavily discouraged in general. On the other hand, being a member of a union, especially if they were a rep of the union, is very dangerous here. Cast, boss, operations director for the bank, who was hired by the bank to specially make a living hell to the union associates. Awful person, vindictive and cruel. Rep, a union rep who's an independent lawyer and works at the bank just to make boss regret working there. Gala, a special police force that deals with kidnappings and extortion. Guard, a security guard in charge of letting employees leave the premises. To the story. Rep, been a lawyer who had his own clients, works strictly the legal time required by his contract. Then he goes to his other business office to attend his legal cases, so he generally clocks out before anyone else, who stayed finishing their job and making other tasks. Boss noticed rep behavior and introduced a new policy. Nobody's to leave the premises until everyone was ready to leave, so the bank security locks everyone in, and we couldn't leave until everyone was ready. One day not long after that, rep had an appointment with the client and went to the exit and asked the security guard to let him out. The guard told him that he couldn't leave until boss and everyone else goes, so he went to speak to boss, and she told him that he has to stay like everyone else, and that if he didn't like it, he should quit his bank job. Otherwise, he'd lose his other business and lose money. He didn't say anything more and went to his chair looking defeated. Boss was delighted, told everyone there that she had him, and started to make fun of him. What boss didn't know was that he had been waiting for this opportunity since she put this new policy in place, and he knew it wasn't going to take long before he had to be on a meeting with the client. On his workstation, he called the police, asked them to transfer his call to the special Gala unit, in charge of kidnappings. About 20 minutes after he called the police, the Gala unit arrives at the bank. No less than 15 heavily armed police officers, something like 15 heavily armed SWAT, storm at the front door of the bank. The security guard was livid, pale. The police informed him that they received a call that a kidnap victim was held in the bank. The guard called boss, who ran out of her office to the front door to deal with the situation. In the meantime, Rep was with the most satisfying smile on his face. I remember to be scared like everyone else, and when I looked at him smiling, I began to realize what was happening. Boss starts screaming at the police, Gala units, that there was no kidnap victim in the bank. Then Rep raises his voice and said, "Rep, yes there is, I'm the victim." Boss, "You're not kidnapped," she screams. Rep, "I've been held here against my will." "That's typified as kidnapping," he calmly replied. Boss looked at him with her eyes wide open, realizing the major screw-up she put herself into, and said, "But I'm not detaining you against your will." Rep, "Yes you are. I went to your desk and told you that I finished my work and needed to leave, and you told me that no, I couldn't go because of the new policy you implemented. So I'm being held against my will, see?" Gala, "Do you want to press charges, sir?" Rep, "Yes, I do." Boss, "No! Go, leave, nobody's detaining you." Rep, "Officer, there are other people here who finished their work, and they're also detained here against their will." Boss, "No! Anybody who had finished their work or wants to go, you can leave," she screamed. So we went to our homes. Boss had to stay in the bank on the line with the legal department, and her boss. Rep went to see his client. The last story is, when you deny a reasonable request. I was in a technical rating in the US Navy. By some miracle, I had made it up the ranks to E5. However, I had a deserved reputation of being an SH bird. Later, I would be evaluated by psychologists and be diagnosed with ADD, mild autism, and dyslexia. In my 30s, that should tell you something. This does have a direct bearing on the story. This all takes place at my last command before getting out. It was the Shoreside Tech Support Command. My LCPO had a severe dislike of me. He took every opportunity he could to make my life miserable. Understand the military has a tendency to put pressure on a guy who underperforms, and I got a lot of it. But this was way different. Between the professional intentional program for failure and the very personal caustic attacks, I never wanted to go to work. And to that, anyone caught interacting with me in a positive way would catch hell too. I had friends, but they had to keep it squashed. The flip side was that I'm very technically adept. When the Navy would send me to school to learn to work on something new, I would jump at it. My Devo and LCPO would send to schools to get me out of their hair whenever they could. This meant I learned to work on all kinds of cool things, and I got to do that for my collateral duties. I would get left alone whenever I had projects, but I would get my A ridden when I didn't. There was one particular skill I picked up that no one else at the command had, and was part of the command's mission. It wasn't the most pleasant activity, and it was a solo gig with hours alone, but I didn't get any flack. I enjoyed the fact I was actually doing something that mattered, and I liked the fact that I got some difference while doing it. This was an in-house skill and considered mission critical. I found out that there were supposed to be others with this skill. I also knew that because I was seen as an SH bird, any request I made would be met with strong resistance. The more I would push for something, the more pushback I would get. I'm sure you know where this is going by now. I did what any good sailor who cared about his service would do. I asked for a couple of the newer guys who would be around a while to come help me out some so I could train them. First, I went to my immediate supervisor and got turned down. I went to my LCPO and got turned down. I submitted a request sheet and made all the way to the XO and got turned down. I knew I could press further, but I felt it was unlikely I would get a different response, and it was likely to increase an already uncomfortable work situation. It was easy to seem like I was doing this in earnest because in fact I was. I already knew how it would play out, but I still cared and I kinda hoped I was wrong. The flip side was I knew what the fallout was going to be. Part of me licking my chops in anticipation of the fallout. Then it came. To be honest, I didn't expect to really get such juicy moments to enjoy. I thought the event would happen after I was gone. I almost was. I was on terminal leave. I was still in the barracks preparing for my trip home when my phone rang. Hello? This is Chief X, the LCPO. What? Very rude by military standards. What the heck? I'm on terminal leave. You need to come in. We have special skill project that has to be done by tomorrow afternoon. You know I'm on leave right now, right? Yes, that doesn't matter. You need to come in right now. I'm the only one who can do it? A short silence on the line. Yes? He finally answers. How many times did I try to get someone to cross-train? Silence on the line. This time he doesn't say anything. Go F yourself. I slammed the phone down. An investigation got started. I honestly don't remember who started it. NAVC, IG, JAG, doesn't matter. These things don't end until they have a head, and it wasn't mine. Officially, I was still active duty, and I could have been in real trouble. But the chief had royally screwed the pooch though, and dragging me in for it would probably only make things worse for him. I don't know, but I suspect he was SHing his pants right then, trying to think of a way to save his own A. I took a chance when I told off the chief. However, I was playing the odds. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.